Hi there, this is Jess Piet, blogger behind Jess Undressed, here interviewing Negar Ayromloo for Igirl Tech News. How are you, Negar?
I am well, thanks. How are you doing, Jess?
Good, I'm good. It's really great to have you.
Thanks.
So, right to the chase, what is Kidvid?
So Yourkidvid, parents take so many videos of their kids right now, right? They have them
Yes.
on all sorts of different devices. So it's their iPhone and on their computers and it's all over the place.
Uh-huh.
But people really don't know what to do with them, especially busy parents. So we say, give us up to 15 minutes of raw footage and we'll turn it into a cool, hip, 2, 3, 4 minute movie that you can easily share, save, and watch again and again and again.
Awesome. Okay. So, what gave you the idea for this?
Well, the initial impetus for it was actually something completely different. I love the idea of people wanting to be known and people needing to be understood. And a friend of mine had actually made some videos of a couple of her older friends and really interviewed them, sort of getting their life story. And I was fascinated by, can we turn this into a business? Well, that led me to my business partner, T. Thomas, and she's got a bunch of kids. And she's like, oh my God, what if we try to do this with kids? And so initially we're going down both avenues and we realized, the first, we want to do this for a bunch of different segments, but initially we really want to focus and target on parents with kids 12 and under.
Right. Okay, cool. Alrighty, so how did your team come together?
Well, Teague and I used to work together at Gateway and Acer Computers. And we'd always said, hey, let's find a business to work in together. So when I was leaving Cisco, I was really wanting to be an entrepreneur again. And I came to her with this idea. And so she quickly jumped on board. Obviously, we pivoted and found this really great segment. And there's something about the passion of an idea when you go out and start talking to folks and articulating what you're looking for and what you're needing. Very quickly thereafter, we met our creative director, who was really the next piece of the puzzle that we needed. Someone who knows the film industry and the movie space and commercials and this whole space that we wanted to be in. Because essentially what we're doing is we're taking what is an art form, filmmaking, and we're applying it to home videos, right? Like that's what we're doing. And so, when he came on board, that was really the next natural fit. And from then on, it was been easy to find the rest of the team that we've been able to pull together.
Cool. Very cool. Now, can you talk a little bit about your journey from Zurich to the U.S. and what you did before starting Kidvid? I know you mentioned a little bit of it before.
Sure. I actually started out as a consultant in the DC area, and one of my clients took me to Zurich. We were doing, back in the day when internet service providers were just getting going, we were helping these ISPs launch their businesses in the US and around the world. And so that took me to Zurich. And, consulting gigs go, a 3-month, gig turned into a year and a half in a hotel, and 2 years later I'm still there, and it really led me to get to know the country and the city better. And it was sort of like when the internet boom was starting to really happen. And I was lucky enough to join a startup called Swiss Invest. And I was really one of the first in online financial services. Anyway, that was my first startup. And your first startup is crazy and fun, and you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. And you probably wouldn't do it if you did. But it's like the biggest gift you can ever have. And so that led to my second startup, and I was still in Switzerland. We ended up selling that. It started out more of a networking organization. We sold that to we considered to be sort of LinkedIn of Europe at the time. And I grew up in the U.S. My family was here, and it was time for me to come back. And I thought, well, I've done the entrepreneurial stint for a while. It'd be great for me to get back into a big company. So I did consulting, I was an entrepreneur, and I thought, well, let me try these bigger companies. So I went to Gateway, tried it out there. Gateway was purchased by Acer. And then from Acer, I went to Cisco. So I went to a company with 70,000 employees. As big as you can probably get, right? The biggest extreme between being an entrepreneur and a big company. And I found I enjoyed the company. Cisco's a great company, but what it brought back to me was that I was ready to be an entrepreneur again. That I missed that small environment where you can really drive things and make decisions and have an impact. And so I think being an entrepreneur has, you have to have that passion for it. And I knew when I left my first company that I wanted to be an entrepreneur again. But I never found an idea that I was sufficiently passionate about. Because what it takes to make a company happen is you have to believe so greatly, regardless of what's going on around you, regardless of what people are saying. And that doesn't mean you're stupid about it. You listen to folks, you've taken the input, but in the end, you've got to listen to your gut.
Yeah.
And for me, it was time for me to be an entrepreneur again. So.
That is wonderful. Awesome. Okay, cool. So, can you tell us a little bit about your thought process when deciding to leave the corporate world to start your own business? Like, what was that moment?
It was a decision between what I should do versus what I wanted to do. It was really that, and I was really clear on that. I was really clear when I had the phone conversation with my boss and I said, I'm leaving, and I hung up and I went, oh my God, what have I just done? And suddenly I had this burst of energy, and I knew that, okay, yeah, it's scary. Yeah, I don't know where it's going to go. But guess what? You never know what's going to happen in life. You just think you've got control. You really never do. So you may as well be pursuing the things that you're passionate about, that you love doing, and you take risks. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't work, but your life is richer because you've taken those chances.
Awesome. Absolutely. Okay, so you have experience in international business. What did you find was the attitude towards women in business in the various countries you worked with?
Well, it's really interesting. I actually found that being an American woman gave me the ability to do whatever I wanted to do. Because the reputation for American women as businesswomen is very well known. And so there was no limitation set on me. In fact, because I was an American, I could really, I could be more aggressive. I could be, even in cultures where women are much softer and much more behind the scenes. Because I was American, I was able to do whatever I needed to do to make the business happen, and respected as a result of it.
Nice.
So even when I thought maybe there'd be some issues, I felt privileged to be American.
That's awesome.
An American woman.
Wonderful. Okay. What would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned starting your own business?
That's a good question. I think there's tenacity, perseverance, but I think the heart of it is you've got to be clear on where you're going and what you want to do. And there are so many balls you're juggling at any given moment that sometimes you can get lost in that. And so you have to find moments where you check out. You go to the gym, you go read a book, you go for a walk. You have to find those moments for some quiet. You meditate, whatever your thing is. You've got to find those times so that you can see things clearly, so that you know what's really going on. You don't get caught up in the drama of the moment, that you know this is the goal and it's still possible, and let's find a way and figure it out.
Wonderful. Okay, what would you say to a female wondering if tech is for her?
Well, I've been in tech all my life, so it's hard to imagine it wouldn't be. But it's really, what lights you up. I think that's the fundamental, is you've got to, I think sometimes we put boundaries around ourselves of what we think we can do and we can't do. And I'm happy to see this generation that's coming out that they don't have those boundaries. There are no, there's nothing that they can't do. So it's really putting themselves out there and trying different things and seeing what lights them up, and not being held to any standards but their own. Just put yourself out there.
Wonderful. What are some of the traits you think someone should have to be a successful entrepreneur?
You've got to have some business savvy, and that doesn't mean you have to go to school for it. I think a lot of people have to be business savvy. Is it a good idea? You've got to be able to have some analytical skills. A lot of it is tenacity and perseverance, and not taking no as an answer, and not taking things personally, and really staying your course.
Yeah, great. What can the tech industry do as a whole to encourage more women to get into tech?
It's a big nut to crack, and I think it starts on a whole bunch of different levels. So if you look at the U.S. overall, about 29% of all businesses are women-owned. So we're in the game. We'd like it to be 50%, but all right, we're in the game there. But in tech, it's a much lower number. Why is that? it starts with kids. You've got to get girls really comfortable with the technology, and that's not a guy thing. And these stereotypes of, what I love now is you've got the cool geek girl stereotype, which is awesome, right? So that changes things. So I think you have to start with the girls, get them into tech, and getting them to whether it's programming or other aspects of tech, to get them engaged. But you've got to support the women who are trying to get into tech. And educate them, and I think you've got to put some funding around that to support those types of things. But it can't be funding for the sake of funding women. Mm-hmm. These are great ideas. I just think women have a harder time asking for money. Mm-hmm. That's not the case across the board, but I don't think I think certainly my generation, we're women who are, we stood up on our own and we pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps, and now I need to go ask somebody else for money. So it's a dichotomy. But I think the new generation doesn't have that.
Right.
It's a, hey, I've got a great idea. You should invest in me, which is the right attitude to have.
Right. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much for a wonderful interview.
Thank you, Jess.
It's been lovely meeting you. Signing off. This is Jess for Igirl Tech News.